Hey guys, I know it's been a year, but I'm back. If you want to know what I have been doing, here's my LinkedIn, hire me. I've got some tech content and some political content coming out, but I wanted to set the precedent today that I will share my opinion. And either way, this video couldn't wait because the primary election is less than a week away, and I wanted to get something in about it. Speaking of the Missouri primary election, just want to clarify, I'm not in Kansas anymore. The main issue on the ballot is who will be Missouri's next governor. So, who will you be voting for in the 2024 gubernatorial election? I will most likely be voting for two different candidates. And you might ask, well, how's that possible? Well, there's the primary on August 6th, where the parties select their nomination for the actual election in November. And then there's the general, where the governor is actually elected. I imagine my viewer base might be a little bit like me, youngish, stupidish. So you might be thinking, why should I vote for governor? Doesn't fucking matter. People think that no matter what, Missouri is going to elect a Republican governor. So who cares who I vote for? Well, like I said, the primary election decides who actually goes on the ballot, so which Republican is probably going to win. But putting all that aside, the governor has a lot of influence. They make appointments, like the system board of curators, or judges. They have executive powers and can veto laws. They're like the president of the state. They're the leader of the executive branch. And in that sense, they're almost more important than the president because they're closer to you. So on to the most likely candidates for governor, starting with the Republicans in alphabetical order. First up, Bill Eigel. He's been a senator in the 23rd District of Missouri for the past 8 years. He likes getting rid of taxes, specifically personal and corporate income tax and personal property tax. He likes guns, and he wants to amend the way that Missouri does the budget to start from scratch instead of starting from a precedent in the year before. I think that's a cool idea. Now, what he doesn't like is illegal immigration, transgenders, abortion, critical race theory, fentanyl, and China. Not just China, but the foreign ownership of Missouri land. Next up, we have Jay Ashcroft. He's the current Missouri Secretary of State. He's an engineer and a lawyer. Went to S&T, so he's got a plus on my chart. His dad was the U.S. Attorney General under Bush, the second Bush, 9/11 Bush. So he did the whole security thing with 9/11, but no, we forgive him, right? He likes tax cuts, funding the police, and state-controlled police. He also dislikes abortion, China, and fraudulent elections. Next up's Mike Kehoe. He is the lieutenant governor of Missouri. It's like the vice president of the state. Now, he hasn't shown up to any of the public forums or debates, so it's kind of hard to gauge him, but this is what I've gathered. He likes guns, police, and border security, and he dislikes abortion, China buying land, and people. They all feel like the exact same person, but trust me when I say they're not. My overall thoughts on the Republican candidates are that Eigel seems like a underqualified disciple of the Republican Party. Ashcroft seems like the most reasonable, not just because he's an engineer, but it's actually mainly because of his name. And Kehoe seems like he comes with some strings attached, and no average Joe holds those strings. Next up, we have the Democratic candidates, of which there are two that I'm mentioning. We have Quade. She's the House Minority Leader, and she's the representative for Greene County, which is House District 132. She likes public preschools, gun laws, and potentially sports gambling. She actually hasn't mentioned much on her website. Those are all just bills that she has sponsored. And she very much dislikes babies, Jesus, baby Jesus, China, and conversion therapy. And finally, we have Mike Hamra, or Hamra, I don't know how to say it. He has a massive agenda, and I don't mean like it's a lot. I mean, it's just a lot of words, which is great. I appreciate that very much, thank you. It all probably could have just been one page, though. He likes small businesses, money, who doesn't, and debt forgiveness for healthcare workers. He dislikes degree requirements, health-related retention strategies, and evidently, money. If I were at the primary ballot box, I would vote for Jay Ashcroft, because despite our differing opinions on many of his positions, he seems like the most reasonable Republican candidate. Remember, your vote in a democracy isn't to try to get the best candidate in office. If we all voted for who we believed in, we'd all vote for obscure people. But instead, democracy is meant to keep the worst from reaching the top. When you look at the political landscape, you may recognize that nepotism is actually a very good sign of a political leader. There's just less corruption to sift through and inadvertently absorb. Now, You may be reliving an old leader, but at least they're more free to do what they think is best for you. When it comes to the general election, I imagine I'll be voting for Crystal Quade, as her views align a little better with me. Nobody's perfect, except for me. So to have my voice heard and to break the ice in the most unambiguous way, here is my ideal candidate for governor. To kick it off, I prefer a candidate who can protect personal rights. That is, the right to privacy to an extent. All of these have their limitations. But yes, I believe the First Amendment and the precedent set in Lemon v. Kurtzman should protect the right to an abortion. What does it matter to me if someone cuts down their own tree? Especially if they're better off without it. Where I'm from in Kansas, property tax pays for the public schools. Now I understand that in St. Louis there is a greater number of charter or private schools, so it might seem reasonable to give property tax breaks to those who pay for their own schooling. However, we simply cannot neglect the future of those with less means to educate themselves. As a student at Missouri S&T, I just don't have faith in any charter schools. The school of thought is almost too purebred, and it becomes suffocating. In my personal opinion, I think the entire school system needs an overhaul, but one that's too meticulously curated for this video. Illegal immigration is an interesting topic. I, for one, believe I have no greater right to reap the benefits of this nation than anyone else, as all I did to deserve it was to be born within its borders. But if it is in the best interest of the people of Missouri to enforce immigration laws, it should be done. Just handle immigration better. I like guns and explosions. I'd also prefer if the United States loosened the reins on policies regulating fissionable materials. That's not a Second Amendment thing. I actually don't believe anyone should own a nuke. But conventional weapons, sure, why not? Then there's transgender rights. In general, do whatever you want. Women's sports are something different. I believe in integration, which I'm sure is a little different from what you think. It seems absurd to me that the genders are separated anyway. Fighting has weight classes, so if a trait compromises the game, regulate that trait. The sports should accommodate the people who play it, not the other way around. Football before Teddy Roosevelt didn't have a neutral zone, forward passes, or 10-yard first downs. But when the bodies started stacking up, it came hard to justify. Conversion therapy is pretty messed up. The patient, not the parents, should consent to it, with regulations on its practice and knowing that patients are not consenting. Mildly related, I believe that many of the age regulations need to be lowered. For 18 years, your voice isn't heard, and you can't sign legal documents or even work. Well, I didn't follow that one at all. Even over 18 and under 21, you can't buy alcohol, hold a federal explosives license, or get a hotel room sometimes. I can't think of anything else I would want in a governor at the moment, and I'm not sure if you noticed, but not one of those had the exact same views that I did. Now, I know I went off the rails with my own beliefs, but I hope I made you think and not just about me being an idiot. Bottom line is, the Missouri primary is happening next Tuesday. Go vote if you want to. You could vote for Jay Ashcroft, follow me, or you could form your own opinion and respect democracy. Feel free to trash me in the comments. I would love to hear your opinions. Just know that my next video won't be anything like this. Goodbye.